In the Hotepish with your host, Dwan B. Intelligent ish talk, intelligent shit talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door.
What up, y'all? What up, y'all? We are here. We are here.
You're listening to Hotepish with your host, Dwan B.
Listen to Kendra tell you the rules of the show.
Intelligent shit talk. where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door.
That's the most important part. Leave your goddamn feelings at the door. Especially you grown-ass men that be having comments after the videos. Why'd you say it that way? Sit your ass down, nigga, and listen. What's up, everybody? We is here. What's up, Quanes, Bolo, Trey Day, Nino Black, all y'all? How y'all doing? Let me get some music on. I hate when it's quiet. Let me see here. What mix am I gonna play today? I think I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna play this. No, that's the Instance and Ashtrays intro. Oh yeah, church music. We're gonna play this. We're gonna play the church music. And we are here. What's up, Nicole CNC? We are here. We are here. Talking corporate jack moves. Have a good time. Listen, have a good time. Don't be asking me no questions about things that ain't got nothing to do with this program. One thing we need to learn as a people is focus. Focus. I'm gonna be talking overall. Today, we're gonna be talking about the greater good of American society. You know, as black people, oftentimes we get caught up in, well, how does this help black people? This directly helps black people, what I'm talking about right here. But I'm talking about it from a larger point of view in the context of American history. If America is to survive or not survive, and what were the things that worked in America when America worked at its best on a larger level. Because where we go wrong when it comes to race is we oftentimes look at white supremacy as a thing that is black. Let me word this correctly. White supremacy is definitely the fight between white and black, with all kinds of buffer classes in between. But sometimes we get the misconception that those on top actually give a fuck about the buffer classes, actually give a fuck about 99% of white people. They don't. They don't give a shit about them. There's something that they don't quite understand, and oftentimes we don't quite understand. Those groups are giving a little more than us, so they play their part in keeping us in check. But those other groups, especially them white folks, they'll spend so much goddamn time focused on black people. They really getting fucked up right now too. They got us all fighting each other while they fuck us all. I'm not saying that this is something we need to come together moment, because black folks, look, we ain't got time to be trying to come together with everybody. We ain't got time for that shit. We gotta fix ourselves. We gotta see what's out there, the obstacles out there, and do it alone. Like we've always done. Like I've heard people go around saying, well, black people are going to need these other groups if we're going to get things in a better... No, we're not. We've never needed other groups. That's one of the biggest lies out there, that we need to have some big old minority coalition to come together to stop this shit. No. We need to be focused on what the fuck we need to be doing. But focusing on what we need to be doing, sometimes it comes in a message that's directed only towards our unique problems and needs. And other messages come in more of a macro level about what's going on in general and where we can fit in that to win and what we need to do to win regardless, and how we need to view this thing in order to win. Because I hear people all the time, whenever I talk about American problems, they be like, man, I just focus on black people. That's not I'm not going to call people that talk like that stupid. I'm just going to say that's not an intelligent approach to solving problems. Hell, I'm going to go even further. Not only is it not an intelligent approach, that approach just flat out don't work. You can't just say I only care about black people when black people pay taxes in a country that everybody fucking lives in. You got to take a step outside of your ghetto, outside of your hood, outside of your city, and see things from a larger point of view. Because when you don't see things from a larger point of view, you can still be easily manipulated, controlled, and confused. There is no such thing as, well, I'm only focused on black people, and I don't care about what the United States is doing on the tax code. I don't care about what United States is doing when it comes to, I don't care about how Jeff Bezos gets to make all that money. I don't care about that. We just need to do better. Look, fool, if you're going to do better, you got to know the whole problem, not just 25% of it. You try to go and solve an algebraic equation, 2a plus 7b equals 13. You try to solve that by only focusing on one half of the equation, and let's see how far you get. Solutions require the whole equation to be looked at. And that's what we're going to look at today. And another disclaimer, and this is for my mods in there, because I'm going to get into talking about, what we do, as far as how we're taxed versus how they're taxed. For people that come in the chat room and be like, well, all you need to do is just, we can do the same thing. If people just open up a business and do this and do that, you can do the same thing as Jeff Bezos. All right, nigga, why don't you be the first American on earth to try that shit and figure it out and not get put in jail like Ronald Isley and Wesley Snipes? There are two different Americas. Well, multiple Americas. We're talking about the difference between the corporate America and the rest of America. There's no fix all, solve all problems that's on the books. I wrote an Instagram post yesterday. This was a post I put up on. I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna tell you how we came to this and how this became the subject of today's broadcast. I put a post up yesterday on IG and Facebook and Twitter. And the post is, you pay a 35% tax when you cash out your crypto. Executives of crypto company pay zero tax when they cash out your investment. The people and the corporate pimps are playing two different games. Just something I said. And since none of us are corporate trillionaires, you would think 100% of niggas on Instagram and Facebook would agree with this. Because I can guarantee you, none of you motherfuckers fit in that upper America. You ain't on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook leaving comments if you are. But what's the first thing a lot of people do? See, now, all the people need to do is open up a 401k and then do this and then do that and then it'll be all better. Man, shut your ass up. Falling on the sword for motherfuckers who don't give a shit about you. Why are you okay with that is my question. That's my question. Why are you okay with the common American citizen having to jump through 17 loopholes and if he fuck up, face jail time like Ronald Isley? Wesley Snipes overpaid taxes and still went to jail. You can go listen to Judge Joe Brown talk about that here on this very show. He actually overpaid. tried to whoopty-whamp and got his ass put in jail. Meanwhile, some corporate dickhead can make $1 trillion and not pay a dime in taxes. And if he gets audited and finds out where they took money and did some illegal stuff, he ain't going to jail. We're not here to talk about what a superhuman can do if they knew everything right. We're here just to talk flat, straight up turkey. Why is it that we got to do what we got to pay 35% and they ain't got to pay shit? We're going to go on a historical journey here. We're going to go back to the 1890s and bring you to 2021. Because y'all know me, this going to be a pretty long show today. I think we're going to come up around 2 hours, maybe even longer. So get your popcorn, go get your coffee. You know what I mean? If you're a truck driver, sit back, lay in the pocket. We're going to be here for a minute. Because I have a lot of groundwork to lay. I got about 130 years of groundwork to lay before we get to possible solutions for today in 2021. I'm not here to give you a lot of these niggas that be running their mouth go around and tell you a whole bunch of little bullshit nonsense that sounds good, but it don't mean anything. We here to answer who, what, when, where, why, and how. You did. Thank you, Mickey, because we allow it. That's right, Southern California, get your blunts. Matter of fact, I recommend that you light a blunt up and listen to what I'm saying. It's going to open your mind to think in a three-dimensional way for the 2D thinkers out there. And if you're one of those people who don't smoke weed or can't smoke weed, get your herbal teas. Or whatever it is that you do. So, what really got this going, what made me post that Facebook post yesterday, Instagram post, was this here. This news. As y'all know, I'm a Laker fan. And just yesterday, I was asking a question. While we talk about how much players get paid, what are these teams making in sponsorships? I said this before I knew the Lakers arena got sold. Well, not got sold, but the naming rights got sold. I was watching the Laker game the other day. Let me see here. I was watching a Laker game the other day, and I was looking at all of the sponsorships that they had out there on the court. See, it used to be in the old days of basketball, you had just a court. You had a paint, the paint where the paint was where a team. Let me just pull up a picture. Let me just pull up a picture so I'm not talking too goddamn much and you can see what I'm talking about. We're going to compare a old NBA court to a current NBA court. Now we're going to talk about like the money that's coming in and the difference. And we're going to talk about basically the difference in what you see. Back then in the day, you had just like a regular old basketball court. You had the paint, the 3-point line, nothing else. Nowadays, when you watch an NBA game, it's advertisements all over the place. Advertisements under the 3-point line, advertisements on the sideline, advertisements on the jerseys. And I was thinking like, damn, these motherfuckers are making a whole lot of money. And they got us so focused on what players are making. What are the owners making? You know, what are the teams making and the executives with all of this sponsorship? And then yesterday we get the news that this place, Crypto.com, paid $700 million for a 20-year corporate deal. Mind you, I remember back when the Staples Center was open. I remember when the Staples signed that $120 million 20-year deal in 1999. I remember that back then being like the biggest, like, whoa, that's way too much fucking money for a naming rights deal. Now you got corporations paying $700 million. So I looked up Crypto.com and I found out Crypto.com was made in 2016. How can a company that's only been around for 5 years even afford to pay $700 million for a naming rights deal? How is that possible? I was down by Staples Center just last week. I be going downtown. See, downtown's where I go. You know, and that's where I get my, some good weed shops downtown. Let's just tell the truth. And downtown, record homelessness in the city I was raised in. We used to have a Skid Row. That was one fucking street of homeless people. Now all of downtown is homeless. When Staples Center was built in 1999, there was one block with a whole bunch of homeless people, and that was it. Now you have corporations that can pay $700 million just to name themselves on an arena in an area where there's record homelessness. How the fuck is this possible? I'm the kind of person where I can't just ask how it's possible. I gotta fucking find out. And that's what I've been spending the last few days doing. And that's why I'm bringing, and I've been always focused on a lot of this stuff. But it just came to me, okay, we gotta talk about this shit, for real, for real. And a Facebook post ain't enough. $700 million. Look at this. The SoFi Stadium where the Rams play in Inglewood. $600 million for a naming rights deal. While black folks are being gentrified like hell out of Inglewood. I remember going to Laker games back in the 90s at the Forum, at the Great Western Fabulous Forum in the 80s and the 90s. And that being an all-black neighborhood. Now niggas is getting kicked out left and right because they increasing rent from $1,500 a month to $4,700 a month, and nothing's being done about it. How is this possible? Then I saw this tweet like last week. I screenshotted this tweet a couple weeks ago because I was like, I'm going to talk about this shit in the future. I just didn't know when. Look at this. Since 2011, the wealth of Elon Musk from $2 billion to $271 billion in 10 years. The wealth of Mark Zuckerberg, $17 billion to $121 billion in 10 years. The wealth of Jeff Bezos, $18 billion to $203 billion. And you know what makes the wealth of Jeff Bezos so cold? Amazon.com, from its inception through about 2009, never turned a profit. Never turned a profit. His personal wealth kept going up. Can you imagine a black-owned business not turning a profit from its inception for over 10 years? And the owner of that company, first of all, the CEO being allowed to stay CEO, not getting his black ass not getting fired from being CEO. Second, make that kind of money. Then when his company started finally making money, he went from being worth $18 billion to $203 billion. How is this possible? Why ain't nobody talking about this? We talking about an athlete being overpaid, but we ain't talking about this? What kind of punk ass population are we? Huh? It's not about, see, there goes somebody in the chat room. Do y'all think these people are actually liquid for that much? No, it's not about that. I'm not going to call you any words. Sit your ass down and listen, though. God damn. Who said anything about liquid? I'm getting into how they're allowed to keep this level of money. Sit your ass down, shut up, and listen. Told you this broadcast gonna go at least 2 hours. Let's break down. Let's break this all the way down. How did we get here? And for everything I'm telling you today, I have for every site that I'm posting on here, I have the link in the description bar. I'm not going to read everything verbatim, word for word, but the links to all of these sites are in the description if you want further education for yourself. Look at what's happened with the wealth gap since 1990. You see these little markers here. This marker right here, third quarter of 1990. This is when that housing market, the crash and the savings and loan crash happened. Net worth held by the top 1% in terms of millions. And you see it steadily increases through the Clinton administration. And then right here, where you see it kind of take a dip, this is third quarter. This is when 9/11 happened. Remember, there was a lot of shit that happened to the economy when those towers fell. Bush tax cuts come in 2001, 2002. They take effect 2003. You see the wealth gap rise. See, my whole life, I was born in 81. I'm a child of Reaganomics. I was told by Reagan, and we've been hearing since the age of Reagan, that tax cuts increase job growth. Tax cuts to the wealthy, the corporate tax cut, is going to grow the economy. And the economy has grown, but only for the top 1%. You see here, right here is when the housing market crashed under Bush. The economy was fucked up, death and destruction. I remember I was working mortgage banking during this time. I made some of the most money in my life before this, and some of the least money in my life right after this shit. And then when Obama got in office, he signed a different tax plan in 2011 that basically got the United States started paying out, well, not started, had been paying out money to increase the infrastructure of this country. But the people who profited from that infrastructure, the money went right to the top. Same thing back here in the 90s. There were a lot of laws signed during the Clinton administration to expand broadband. When he laid back in the 90s, it was our taxes that paid for the internet to be what it is. And most of this growth that you see here post 2011, a lot of this growth happened online. You see the major dip. This is the coronavirus. But since the coronavirus, you've seen wealth shoot through the fucking roof. And most of this wealth has happened with the online environment. Whether you're talking about online corporations like Facebook, Twitter, online-based businesses like Amazon, your cryptocurrencies, which rely on the internet and rely on the infrastructure. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I complaining about all of this money going up to the top? Why we don't have anything? I'm glad you asked. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it was our taxes as people way back here in 93, 94, 95 that paid for the infrastructure for this current gilded age we're living now. Everything you see post 2001, all of these corporate gains, none of this is possible without the foundation of taxes we paid back here in the 90s. What happened in the 90s? That's when the Clinton administration paid for broadband internet to be laid throughout the country. The reason why we are now on what's called HD TVs and digital TV signals and digital radio was because back in the 90s, the intention was to free up the airwaves, AM, FM, and the TV airwaves for Wi-Fi internet to be free. See, people don't know that. Wi-Fi and the internet, when it got its big when it got its big federally funded push, what the intention was for Wi-Fi and broadband internet to be free. So we as a population paid for that. This wealth increase you see on this side of the graph, the reason why this wasn't possible in Mexico, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Cuba, in the Dominican, or anywhere else in the world, was because those countries didn't invest in their online infrastructure. That's why when you're dealing with those other countries, their internet may work 2 hours a day. They did not have the federally funded investment in an internet that stays on 24/7, that can handle these online transactions, that can reach every person, every city throughout the country. Investment is what funds ingenuity and growth. Investments we made. I didn't say there are free internet programs. Let's listen closely to what I'm saying. I didn't say program. I said free internet. I purposely didn't use the word program. When I say free internet, the intent was for you to be able to turn on your computer, pull out a phone or whatever, and get your ass on the internet without a program. And if you wanted a faster, better internet, you can then pay Verizon, Spectrum, Charter, or whatever internet service for a more beefed up internet. That was the intent. It wasn't about having an internet program. It was about the same way look, when you turn on your TV and turn on basic TV, do you need a program to turn on CBS, NBC, or ABC? No. All you need is a fucking TV. You just turn it on and go to it. Now, if you want better TV, if you want more channels, you can pay for cable, you can pay for DirecTV and get an increased level of service. But if you want basic TV, it's free for all. All you need to do is buy a TV. That's what the internet was supposed to be. Niggas in the chat room, stop talking so goddamn much and listen. All right? I'm talking about what we're supposed to have versus what we have. They've done such a good job of lowering our expectations, of giving us nothing. We now think that when we talk about what we're supposed to get, that's just something out there that's some pie in the sky. No. No excuses. This is not any, we're not giving corporate trust and the government excuses. This broadcast, I believe in going hard on them the way most people believe in going hard on other people. The intent of the internet was for you to be who you, now you got to buy your own computer. You got to buy your own phone. But once you have that, the internet's supposed to be free. That's what we paid for. Not a program. Corporations don't get programs. They get access to wealth. There's no fucking program. You get the money. So everything you see on this graph post 2001 was for the most part funded during the 90s by us. By us. But in the late 90s and through the 2000s, especially during that wretched Bush administration, your major corporations, AT&T, Verizon, and all of them, MCI back in the day, they paid a lot of money to keep themselves involved and not make the internet free. That's right, Nino Black. The internet is supposed to be like AM and FM radio. That's what it was supposed to be. We paid for it. So you get these people making all of this money. How did this happen? How did we go from all this wealth increase being where it is right now while wages are stagnant? Food prices going through the roof. Inflation at an all-time high. Those Obama tax cuts had a lot to do with it. In 2000, when President Obama signed that tax plan, it made additional investments in the internet, infrastructure for Facebook, Instagram, Amazon to grow. That's why you see internet-based corporations and businesses taking off and getting on the top like no other. Because there was special investment specifically from the United States government into the internet. I'm looking for that particular one. Is this the right page? I got so many goddamn pages open. Here it is, right here. It also included his tax cut, $58 billion in industry-specific tax cuts. Most of that went to the internet companies, while also at the same time use tax money to invest in more infrastructure to the internet. Look at what's going on right now with the Biden. I need to pull this up. Biden, in Biden's new bill, I'm just trying to Google it real quick. In Biden's $1 trillion infrastructure bill, what is this? This ain't gonna do nothing but help these same companies more. I'm showing you how our tax dollars are used to help these companies. One thing that I want to point out in this infrastructure bill is the broadband internet, this part right here, what they're doing is they're putting $65 billion to expand the internet basically to these new cities that they're building in Wyoming and in these places where they've recently found oil, in these smaller, in these cities that are outside because of gentrification and people getting pushed out. There are a lot of people that can't afford to live in major cities, so they're building the outskirts of these towns up. You see it in Houston, you see it in Dallas, you see it in Chicago, you see it all over the country. They got to bring the internet to those people. Why? So people like Jeff Bezos can continue making money off of us. Jeff Bezos, they're expanding the internet for Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos to not put money back into it. When we see these major $1 trillion plans and shit, that's us paying for the top 1% to make more money. Passenger rating frail. Public transit. Okay, those are a few things. Airport. Those are a few things that maybe that who's going to fix these things. See, back in the day, the government fixed a lot of this stuff. But now most of the shit is private. It's private entities that get these contracts to repair the bridges, the roads, and the major projects. It's private companies that are going to get the money to upgrade passenger and freight rail. It's private companies that's going to get the money to fix the port infrastructure. It's private companies that are going to get the money to expand that's going to go into this electric vehicles, low emission buses and ferries, revitalization of communities. Private companies get that money. This is money that we're funding that's going to go to the top. Question. Why, again, is this able to happen? It's able to happen because all of this shit really started with Ronald Reagan. It started with Reaganomics. Reaganomics, Ronald Reagan had something when he ran, when it came to free market economics, which is not free market at all. It's just free market for a select few. Everyone else got major rules we got to abide by. And he had something called trickle down theory. The theory was that they'll cut the corporate tax, they'll cut capital gains tax, they'll cut the excessive income tax, and with the tax cuts, when these corporations make more money, the money's going to trickle down to the rest of the economy. Problem is, no money came trickling down. The only thing that came trickling down is corporate jizz on all of our faces. No Vaseline. That's the only thing that came down. And the proof of that is this. There have been studies done on if tax cuts create jobs. And the answer, there's an article that came up just around Halloween last month talking about tax cuts and how they don't do anything. Corporate tax cuts do nothing to create jobs. As a matter of fact, unemployment benefits, money given to unemployment benefits do more to create jobs than tax cuts for the wealthy. But the news has been telling you that they can't extend unemployment because people aren't working. As a matter of fact, it shows that when they get tax cuts, companies actually cut their staff and make the people who still have jobs work more in order to increase their profits. This is happening right in front of our faces. Right now. Yet they got you focused on a goddamn virus that's going to always be here. They got us focused on what athletes get paid. Oh, Jay-Z's a billionaire. Kanye's a billionaire. So the fuck what? What does that even mean? Why do people get so goddamn happy when they see somebody else be a billionaire? Do you know that the more billionaires that are created, that's created off of your back at your expense? The reason why your income has been leveled off since 1980 is because of the amount of billionaires that we've been getting in this country. Niggas sound like goddamn slave. Lou, my master got more money than your master. That was the kind of shit that went on the slave plantations. Slaves fighting over whose slave master was the richest. Dumb shit. They do all this shit right in our face and have us fighting each other. Look at this. This is from Americans for taxfairness.org. The richest 1% of Americans owns 35% of the nation's wealth. And this is back in the day. It's more now. This is as of 2009. Look at this. The average federal income for the richest 400 Americans was 20% in 2009. I want y'all to compare this, what I'm showing you right now, to the next slide I'm about to show y'all. Look at this. 1,400 households reported income of more than $1 million in 2009 paid zero federal taxes. 30% of income inequality is due to unfair tax budget and cuts. This is where we were back in 2009. Where are we now? Because it's gotten way worse since then. It's 2013. Where is that? Where's that article I wanted to show y'all? Where is this? It's 2000, still 2011. Where is it? Here we go. The article was in 2009, talking about the wealth gap. Look at how much the wealth gap has increased since 2009. And this graph is a little bit misleading because, as you see, the numbers sort of jump up. It's the way the graph is spaced out is not really accurate, giving an accurate depiction of how much the wealth gap has increased since 2009. Total net worth held by the top 1%. From 12 to 44 in 10 years. Here we go. Here's what I want to see. It used to be, let me go back. The top 1% own 35% of the nation's wealth. Look, this is 2009. The top 1% of richest Americans own 35% of the nation's wealth. Where are we right now? The top 10% now own 70% of the nation's wealth. The top 1% went from, just look at these graphs. Look at how much has changed just in 10 years. Well, we're talking about our favorite rappers being a billionaire. Look at this shit. How did this happen? Well, remember this. There was a time it wasn't always like this. All of this shit changed when Reagan was in office. What we need now, if this country's going to change, which I doubt it is, what I'm saying right now is just comparing then to now. If we go back to the 1890s, because if we go back to the 1890s, you saw, I don't have those slides pulled up. If you go back to the 1890s through the 1920s, that was the Gilded Age, what they called the Gilded Age, when America at the time had its highest wealth gap. There was a series of laws that changed that from the 1890s through the early 1930s. Well, really through the 1940s. Starting with Teddy Roosevelt through President Taft, busting up the unions and imposing corporate tax rates. One of the biggest things was during FDR's administration, the Revenue Act of 1935. That's where they taxed the wealthiest Americans. See, Roosevelt wanted to tax anybody, any income over $25,000 a year. He wanted to tax that at 100%. He didn't quite get that. But he did get people making over $1 million a year, which was that was a lot of money back then, still is. Well, they hit a progressive tax to where they paid 75% of every dollar made over $1 million back into taxes. See, when this was true, this is why I'm speaking like this. Yes, again, I know I own a corporation, all right? I own an LLC. I know there are things that I can do to avoid paying taxes. I understand that. This broadcast isn't about what I can do as a business owner to avoid things and what you can do. There are a million niggas on the internet talking about that. Go listen to them for that. I'm talking about, at some point, people got to decide to stop sacrificing themselves for the good of 1% of the population. And say, hold the fuck up. It's time you motherfuckers sacrifice something. Why am I saying that? Because as a population, we've done it before. There's always been these different points in American history to where the corporate greed, the federal greed got to be too much. And the people said enough is enough. And when the people said enough is enough, shit changed for the people. How often do the people gotta keep working magic tricks to give concessions to motherfuckers who don't deserve it? This ain't about what we can do on some pretzel matrix bending over backwards kind of shit. No, it's about saying, okay, I'm tired of doing all this stuff. See, look, it's getting serious, y'all. Biden in his new tax plan, he's not doing what this is why when they talk to you, when they talk about presidents, I notice doing presidential runs, they never go back before Reagan. They never tell you what Jimmy Carter was doing with the taxes. They never tell you what LBJ was doing with the taxes. They definitely don't tell you about what Eisenhower was doing with the taxes. They act like all that shit didn't exist. And when you watch mainstream media, they basically cut everything off at Reagan and tell you about everything that happened after Reagan. That's because during Reagan is when the people got so goddamn satisfied that they stopped demanding things of the people that run industry. When you look at American history, the American people, when the American people said enough is enough, guess what happened? Enough was enough, and the wealthy had to then start paying their fair share. And then the people go to sleep for about 50 years. The wealthy start making more concessions and cuts and behind the back deals with the government. Shit get crazy again. And then the American people say enough is enough. Fuck that shit. And it changes again. I'm not willing to accept being raped, people. I'm not willing to. And yes, I did open up LLCs. And yes, I do take advantage where I can. But just because I'll have an LLC and I can take advantage of tax loopholes wherever I can, don't mean I don't have concern about the common man that can't. The woman working 2 jobs, trying to make it, paying exorbitant daycare center prices, exorbitant gas prices, can't afford Thanksgiving this year. Am I supposed to ignore her so Jeff Bezos can make $220 billion and not pay taxes? Fuck that. No. Enough is enough. Let's take this back in history. In the before this place was even a country, in the 1680s, I talk about this a lot. In the 1600s, taxes got to be too expensive, too much. The colony, they were taking too much of the wealth from the people. So blacks and whites united in the colony of Virginia in Bacon's Rebellion. The people stood up and they fought. My family that came from Europe came during the 1660s and settled in Virginia. My family was a part of this, my blood, the black and the white side. Because the first thing they white asses did in 1660 was marry dark indigenous black people in Virginia. We fought. America gave concessions. Now, after that, they created the modern system of white supremacy racism. They said, oh shit, when these motherfuckers get together, we can't keep hustling them. So let's create a system called white supremacy and give them white ones just 2 pennies more than we give them niggas. If we keep giving the white side 2 pennies more, now the white side still ain't getting shit. The white people still ain't getting their worth. they still not gonna get what they deserve. But as long as we make them feel intrinsically better, as long as we give them social equity, social capital, and this thing called whiteness, and let them know that there's value in that, we can get away with only giving these white motherfuckers 2 pennies more than we give the niggas. We give the white boy 2 pennies, we give the niggas nothing. So the corporate world, the government world at the time, had to change. It had to give up a little bit of something. And then the people went back to being okay. Then we get to the 1770s. In the 1770s, Mother England, King George, were doing too much. They were doing way too much. They were doing too much. So the people said, you know what? Fuck that. No taxation without representation. Because back then, the people were getting taxed, but only the corporate and only the landowners had a say in how things were run. So the people revolted again and separated this nation from England. Technically, if you pay close attention, this nation is still tied to England, but that's a whole different topic right there. The Boston Tea Party is when the people stood up and said, you know what? Fuck this. So all those poor white people that came over here from Europe, mind you, it wasn't everybody, because most of the people at the time were, just like now, okay with being raped by the government. It was only about 3% of the population that rose up and fought in the Revolutionary War to free the United States from England. And because of the sacrifice of those 3%, the United States became independent from England and no longer had to pay those exorbitant taxes it was paying to England without the representation. This place was allowed to then form its own form of government. Black people fought in the Revolutionary War. Shouts out to Crispus Attucks, the first person to die in the name of the United States of America. What's the point? The people stood up. White and black. There are 2 points I'm bringing up. There are multiple points to this. What happened? The people got what they want. They wanted. The government responded by giving white Americans, now instead of 2 pennies more than the Negro, I'm going to give you 4 pennies more than the Negro. And it worked. We go through the 1800s. Black people are enslaved. And black people say, you know what? I'm tired of this shit too. So you start seeing black revolts all throughout America in the 1830s and 40s. See, there were revolts in the North too, when slavery was in the North. That, along with weather conditions, made them end slavery. It's because we stood up. It wasn't because white folks felt morally obligated to give us shit. We stood up. All throughout the 1860s, 50s, all throughout the 1840s, we as a black nation had countless revolts on these plantations and say, you know what? We ain't taking this shit no more. And so they had to fight a goddamn civil war. And then in 1865, because remember when they fought the Civil War, we still weren't technically free. Abraham Lincoln said, if I can keep slavery and keep these niggas enslaved and keep the Union together, I'd do it. But after the Civil War, when black people were still technically enslaved, Abraham Lincoln was approached by Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass basically told him, if you don't free the Negroes now, you're going to have another war on your hands. And Abraham Lincoln saw how those black soldiers, salute to Robert Smalls, fought. How the Union was losing the Civil War through 1862 December until the black soldiers were allowed to fight. And how the black soldiers were the primary ones kicking Confederate ass. And how we fought. The United States did not want another war on its hands with black America at this time. So they had to grant us our freedom. We had guns. Are we starting to see a pattern here? We fight for freedom. And then black people get too trusting of the white folks we finished fighting with. Mind you, we fight side by side with them because we have a common cause. What we don't understand is once that common cause is over with, their cause is to go back to being supreme over us, and we just relax. So no, this isn't we all need to come together, because when we do come together with them, and this is, I'm talking to, because I have white listeners and non-black listeners, Latino listeners, Asian listeners. This is speaking directly to you people. Shouts out to y'all. I love y'all. No issues with y'all. I have no issues with you at all. But your history with your lineage shows that after the fight is done, after the people win, y'all go back to having anti-black racism. See, black people, we fight, and then we go back to relaxing and trusting and thinking just because we fall alongside these other people to win this war, to win this battle, that they are cool with us. No. They're just allies. America was allies with Germany in World War I and then fought against Germany in World War II. America was allies with Germany because in World War I, it was the European world, the Western world, fighting against what was left of of ancient Mesopotamia, the Ottoman Empire, the wealth that was stolen from the Africans by these Arabs that occupied what's now known as the Middle East. America and the United States and Germany had common cause to overthrow the Ottoman Empire, the people who controlled what's now Libya, Egypt, Israel, Iraq, Iran. They had common cause. But once that shit was over, America and Germany went to the opposite sides of the aisle. Germany got too powerful, so America linked up with Russia. Russia was like, oh, fuck this shit. And Russia jumped in. World War II, and America and Russia got together to kick Germany's ass because Germany got too powerful. And then after World War II, what did the United States do? They kicked Russia to the side. Okay, yeah, y'all are allies. We need y'all to beat up on Germany and Japan because Japan's too technologically advanced, and so is Germany. So we're going to fight with Russia to beat up and to end the power of Germany and Japan. And as soon as the war was over, what happened? The United States divided Germany up into East and West Germany, divided them up. West Germany got the resources and the money from the Marshall Plan to rebuild. East Germany took the side of Russia. And then the United States became friends with Japan and allowed Japan. Japan got Marshall Plan money to rebuild after they attacked Pearl Harbor and were allowed to be the technological giant of the world. What black people don't understand is you fight with people to get what you want, and then you go back to your people, and you go back to your corner, and you help your people out. America and Russia were best friends from 1942 to 1947. And then in the 50s, communism became the biggest fear in America. Why am I saying all that? Because we as black people, we always fight, but then when the fight is over with, we don't understand that these people that we just fought that battle with and won with have their own motives. So this next fight that's coming, because it is coming, because throughout American history, the DNA of the United States, the past is the best indicator of the future. The DNA of the American populace this is a fighting ass country. This is a fighting ass nation. And this nation knows when to come together amongst the races in order to fight the corporate infrastructure and the government. The difference is this next time when that fight comes between the people and those on top, black people don't get around. See, man, them white folks is cool, man. We see it right now. During the George Floyd protests, you see white people out there, and what do you hear from Negroes? See, now it's different. You got the white folks fighting alongside black people. That would have never happened in the past. See, white folks and black folks can come together. Nigga, shut your ass up. White people and black people have always fought together. And we've always won when we did. The difference is when the fight is over with, they go back to white supremacy. And we allow it. That's where we need to make a change the next time. As we start to stand up to what's going on, we need to still know how them motherfuckers think. And they don't want to be friends with you. You saw this all during the Trump administration. It was an all black and brown coalition. Oh, look at this. You have the Asians coming along and saying, hey, we are minorities together in this. And oh, the Native Americans and the black people are getting along just fine. See, when Trump was in office, everybody was friends with the Negroes. Thank you for the Cash App, D. Lee, David D. Lee. I appreciate that. But you see, now that Trump's not in office, Biden's in office. Oh, now the Asians are saying that black people are attacking them. Oh, yesterday, just yet 2 days ago, Biden signed a law protecting only Native Americans. The Latinos are getting $450,000 for being separated at the border. So we got to look at this from all angles. We got to look at this 360, folks. We got to see this from a racial point of view and also from a macro point of view, as a citizen point of view. Because yes, we're a different race, but we still U.S. citizens. I don't give a fuck what you want to call yourself. If you're a Moor, Hebrew, Israelite, where the fuck do you live? What freeways do you take? For all the people that want to say, we Hebrews, we Israelites. Well, when you want to drive from LA to San Bernardino because your ass got gentrified out of LA, now you got to live in San Bernardino, what freeway do you take? The 10 freeway, the 60 freeway, the 91 freeway. Paid for by what? United States tax dollars. So I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. We talking about where you're living. We can go back to you calling yourself whatever tribe you want to call yourself later on. But right now, we got to deal with this shit the way we got to deal with it. What's up, BB Gaines in the chat room? So Americans fought back in the Boston Tea Party. We fought back during the Civil War. We fought back in the Stono Rebellion. We fought back during here's another time that we fought back. Do y'all know that during the late 1890s, see, this is when here, what pushed Roosevelt to break up the robber barons and the trust. See, right now it's corporations. Back then in the 1890s, it was a trust. It was the Rockefellers. It was the Vanderbilts and all the robber barons that we know of to today. They were running this country dry, taking all the money, pushing it up to the top, not leaving none of it for the rest of us. So in the 1890s, a new party was formed. In 1892, it was called the People's Party. The Populist Party was its official name, but people called it the People's Party. This is when white, black got together and created it was the freed slaves that, because people always like, we could vote after slavery. This is before the poll taxes. See, they always make it seem like we couldn't really vote until the 60s. No, there were periods we can vote in American history. That's why after the 1870s, you saw over 132 black people get elected to local and to state, local and federal governments. Hiram Revels in the state of Mississippi became the first senator, taking Jefferson Davis's seat after Jefferson Davis left his seat to become the leader of the Confederate Party, or the Confederacy of the United States. Black people could vote back then. What happened was in the 1890s, the black vote and the white vote got together and started putting its own candidates in office locally. That's why during the 1890s, you saw a lot of local laws change. That's where a lot of these poll taxes came in. A lot of these literacy tests that were made that black people couldn't answer, because black people and white folks got together and started voting and acting in their political interests. That's what led up to the 1898 Wilmington Massacre, when that democratically elected government in Wilmington, North Carolina, got run out of office by a white mob, by dozens of white mobs from all around the state of Carolina. And then you started, and the fix to that was in the 1890s, when that happened in Wilmington. Instead of the white folks that killed all them black people and chased that town out, instead of them being prosecuted, the laws changed to where, okay, we're just not going to allow black people to vote. But in that uprising of the 1890s, you get Teddy Roosevelt, who was in the pockets of the robber barons and the trusts of the time, to then start writing laws breaking up the trusts and the robber barons. Same thing with Taft. Taft started writing laws to break up the robber barons and the trusts that were crippling the American economy. That came after the people stood up. And then you get to the 1920s, when the wealth gap had, although they started to break up these corporations and stuff throughout the early 1800s, in the 1900s, they still had a stranglehold on the country. And then the Great Depression of 1929 through 1933 happened. How the economy got out of that was FDR. The wealth gap was too big in the 1920s. That's why they call it the Roaring 20s. In the Roaring 20s, that's where American ghettos were at their most violent, more violent than they are right now. See, in the 1920s, black people didn't live in the ghetto. Black people still lived in rural communities. Just go talk to your grandparents if they're still alive. Or if they're not alive, go look up where your family comes from. Your family wasn't living in Chicago and New York. Well, New York was a little different. But your family weren't living in LA, Seattle, Atlanta like that. They were living in rural communities in the South. The ghettos were where ethnic white people lived. The Greeks, the Italians, the Dutch, the Irish, they were known as ethnic. They weren't known as white then. And they were forced to live in the ghettos, in the inner cities. Money had gotten too tight. So tight for them that there was a lot of warring going on, a lot of fighting, a lot of shooting, Tommy guns. That era is now glorified through the mafia movies. We look back and glorify those times, but those times were not glorious. White on white crime was at an all-time high. So the people fought back. And FDR came out with the New Deal, where social programs, Social Security, the 40-hour work week, unemployment benefits. Well, unemployment came later in the 60s. But the money to fund a lot of these programs that we now take for granted was paid for by a wealth tax. Again, I say FDR wanted to charge anybody making over $25,000 100% of their income. But he settled on 75% of the income of the highest of people making over $1 million a year. They closed corporate loopholes. They didn't tell the people, well, now all you got to do is open up a corporation yourself and then jump through this hurdle and jump through that hurdle and everything is going to be fine. No. They said, fuck that shit. And started charging the wealthiest Americans their fair share. It's because the people stood up. Throughout the 1940s, people still weren't happy. So then you bring in Eisenhower. Eisenhower, at one point, was taxing the wealthiest Americans 91% of their income. That 91% tax on the wealthiest of Americans is what built our freeway system. It's what built these airports that we now enjoy. The things this country takes for granted now was built through a heavy tax on the wealthy. And the reason why the wealthy were taxed is because of this. The reason you get to make this amount of money in this country is because of the infrastructure this country has built for you. So because this country built the infrastructure for you to make the amount of money you make, you owe it back to the country to pay your taxes so the next generation can benefit from the infrastructure that their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents paid for through their taxes. Now we're here again in another Gilded Age, on the cusp of a mass revolt. Jeff Bezos is Cuban. How the fuck can he make this much goddamn money in this country and he ain't even been here long enough to put in adequately and still not pay taxes? Elon Musk, South African. Why couldn't he make that money in South Africa? If Elon Musk was so dope, why the fuck couldn't he make the money back home? If Steve Jobs was so dope, why the fuck couldn't he make that money back in Syria where he from? If Jeff Bezos is so dope, why the fuck couldn't he make his money back in Cuba? Why? Because those countries did not invest in the infrastructure it took to make the amount of money that they made off of their product. That's the difference. That's the difference. No disrespect, but I don't give a fuck about no rapper dying right now. No. We give fuck these rappers. We're talking about grown man business here. Entertainment's another time. Rest in peace to whatever rapper died. I don't know his music. Rest in peace. Salute to his family. But stay focused. We ain't talking about no goddamn rappers today. We talk enough about rappers. Rappers get too much of our fucking attention anyway. So do athletes. So do actors. So do internet personalities. Stay focused. God damn. People die every day, B. As long as we live in these times of needs and takes, because that's where we live. We live in a time of needs and takes. Those who need are always going to take from those who have. And they'll do it through any means necessary as long as you have this many poor people in a nation of this much wealth. We on some grown shit here. We on some grown shit here. The story of the streets is needs and takes. Salute to Common for that line. That's the story of the streets. As long as you have massive income inequality, that will exist. Rappers getting killed, little Juju getting shot on the corner, that is a consequence. What we talking about today on this broadcast is the cause. There's a cause and effect relationship to everything in life. The effect is a rapper dying. The effect is the drug dealer on the corner shooting up a school. The effect is massive meth overdoses. The effect is what we see reported on the news down the line. The cause is what we're dealing with right here. Why are these kids out there shooting each other? Well, if mama gotta work 2 jobs to live in a small fucking apartment, and that kid gets sent off to a school that's purposely miseducating them, the schools defunded all skills training during the 1970s. The schools can no longer afford to teach a young high school kid machine shop or how to be a mechanic, how to be an electrician or a plumber, and they're sitting there learning a whole bunch of irrelevant topics. So the money that would have been spent on their education is now going into the pockets of Jeff Bezos. You can expect another rapper to die tomorrow. No, the mute, and that's nothing. Yeah, we can't blame them. Yeah, music has a small part of it. Okay, if it's the music that's causing these people to kill each other, why was the murder? I just finished saying the murder rate was higher during the 1920s than it is now. It wasn't no rap in the 1920s. There were no blues songs about doing drive-bys with Tommy guns in the 1920s. The murder rate was where it was because of the income inequality. You can't have people living amongst wealth while not being able to participate in that wealth and expect them to be functional. Stop these low-level arguments. This shit come from the top. Back in the 1920s, goddammit, niggas was playing the trumpet. It wasn't even no words. Louis Armstrong was the biggest actor in the world in the 1920s. It ain't no who you gonna blame on the murder rate back then. People always want to jump to the music because it's black folks. What about the movies? Your subconscious believes everything it sees. You inundated with they put guns in the hands of cartoons. I grew up watching Bugs Bunny. People are conditioned for gunplay and murder from the cartoons, nigga. The fuck y'all talking about? You get desensitized to guns through Disney. Before you can talk, you're desensitized to gunplay. That's another thing, people. We gotta stop just repeating shit that they say all the time, man. Do people ever sit down and question the cliches that they repeat every day? See, man, if we just clean up the music. Yes, the music needs to be clean. Yes, it does. But we also got to recognize that music always reflects the condition of society. Society's in a fucked up condition. That's why the music vibrates with the people. If society wasn't in the condition that it's in, the music wouldn't vibrate. People wouldn't listen to it. They listen to it because it's reflecting what they see. And the reason why it's reflecting what they see is because of the massive wealth distribution. How can a child quantify mama being gone 12 hours a day, not be able to afford to buy me the newest Jordans when I'm seeing the newest shoes on TV being advertised in every commercial, the newest watch? Well, nowadays it ain't Jordans. Nowadays for kids, it's skins in Fortnite. On TV, the cool kids got all the skins on Fortnite. And mama telling me to wait 2 weeks till she get paid again. What are they gonna do if they're misguided and they have what word can I don't want to say courage, but they got the energy to get up and do something about their situation? They're not gonna just keep saying I'm gonna wait on mama's, I can't get those new skins on Fortnite. They're gonna go out and find a way to make the money to get the fucking skins. And that's where the murder comes in. That's where the carjacking comes in. That's where the quote unquote black up black crime comes in. Wanting things that we see every day that we can't get. And not having the proper direction on where to go and get it. And the reason we don't have that proper direction, because mama working too much and daddy couldn't even get a fucking job. Because daddy's job is being exported back out to China, to Taiwan, to Mexico, or outsourced to the prison system. So daddy's not there to raise you properly and give you proper guidance. Hell yeah, rappers and people gonna end up dead when that's the soup in the environment that they're put in. We talking grown man shit here. Focus, people. Focus. Yeah, Yosemite Sam stayed with 2 pistols and niggas want to blame NWA. The fuck out of here. The mind would not have even been open to what NWA was talking about had the children that were raised on NWA not been raised on Yosemite Sam first. Come here, you little wabbit. What was his name? The one with a shotgun. Chasing Bugs Bunny around with a shotgun. Ooh, that wabbit. We laughing at that shit when we 5. But you want to blame the rapper. The fuck out of here. See, in LA, before the guns got popping, niggas used to pop it. It was pop locking crews. Niggas would dance battle they beefs away in the early 80s. Go back and listen to my broadcast about a year ago that I did with Freeze Love. I did a show on here with Freeze Love. Shouts out to 5150. I did a show about a year ago, last December, with Freeze Love. And Freeze Love talks about what was going on in LA in the early 80s. How niggas wouldn't shoot it out. Niggas would dance it out. Those guns were brought to us in the mid-80s by the government. But the mindset was only conditioned to use those guns because the kids that was using the guns first saw it at the age of 6 months, sitting in front of their TV laughing at Yosemite Sam. What if during a child's developmental years 0 to 8, the cartoons only speak positive conflict resolution? What if the cartoons, whenever there was a conflict with somebody else, they resolved those conflicts through communication, through diplomacy, through love? If the mind is conditioned 0 to 8 by the corporate entertainment media to have non-confrontational conflict resolution, would you even be able to sell a song or a gun to somebody at 15 about killing? They wouldn't even fathom having to kill someone to resolve a conflict if from the ages of 0 to 8, they're taught non-confrontational conflict resolution. They can only listen to the rap song talking about guns because the mind's been conditioned through Warner, through NBC, through ABC, through Disney, through Universal, through the Warner Brothers, that guns solve the problem. We gotta think, black people. Stop repeating shit just because it sounds good. You raised on violence your whole life, but you want to blame a rapper that you listened to when you was 16. You've been watching 16 years of violence leading up to you when you found out about that rapper. Oh, but that rapper gets the blame. Get the fuck out of here. And that's not to say we don't need to change the music. We absolutely do need to change the music. But we also need to change the conditions of our society too. Because when the conditions change, a Molly Percocet song doesn't sound good. That's not something people want to do that are about their business. You only want to get on that. You only want to get on lean when you already checked out of life. When you're already checked out, that's when you want to lean and drink that shit in some syrup and do nothing for the next 11 hours of your day. But we need to make you. That's a dope comment, Truth Seeker. You love Dolph, but right now we need to make a move right. Because if we don't make a move, it's going to be more young Dolphs ended up dead because of the conditions of the society that we're in. People with no conflict resolution skills. We as a people got to stand up. And what do I mean by standing up? Let me make it simple. I ain't talking about pulling out no gun, because I ain't pulling out no gun to fight this government. Fuck that. Hell yeah, I got plenty of guns in my house. But them niggas got drones that they can shoot my black ass with from 2 miles away. So we ain't gonna win shit that way. But here's some things we can do. We can, when we see, we can stop being fans of politicians. Biden, his new tax plan does not address this wealth gap, but he is going after me and you, people who make more than $600 on Venmo or Cash App. He's going after their taxes. Biden just announced recently, let me see if I can find that. Here it is. Biden is seeking $80 billion to beef up the IRS. And he's saying he's targeting people. He's basically targeting people. I don't want to update my goddamn payment. No. Oh, shit. What the fuck? I'm going to update my payment to New York. Oh, yeah, I got a new debit card. Shit. Okay. Well, Biden's. Here we go. There's a more updated one. He wants to beef up the IRS, and he said he's going to focus on people who make more than $400,000 a year. People who make $400,000, $1 million, $2 million, hell, even $10 million a year. They ain't the problem. The problem is this. The people making tens of billions a quarter, not even a year now. Tens of $1 billion made a quarter. And this is possible. It's funny too, and this goes to you people that are like, well, you just open up a business. I was talking to one of the investors the other day from one of the apartments that I manage. I was talking to one of the investors. He's a multi-million, worth tens of millions of dollars, but still pays a lot of taxes. Still pays taxes, and he was saying now, like, basically one thing that these Mark Zuckerbergs and Elon Musk get away with is they have these lines of credits, these loans that are available for people who make billions of dollars. They keep their money tied up in stock of their company. And when they want to cash out, they take a loan. They live their life on loans. From things as little as buying gas on loan for their personal car, for their ships, their boats, their houses. And they get these loans, and when they incur that debt, they then use corporate profits to pay off that debt. The money's never cashed out into their personal income. Therefore, they pay next to nothing in taxes. You, my black ass friend, don't have that option. So, when I talk about Biden's new tax plan that's taxing people making 35% of your crypto earnings, yeah, you can put that money in other things. You can put it in gold. You can put it in silver. You can do this. You can do that. You can delay the tax implications, but you gonna pay. Mark Zuckerberg isn't. So are you cool with that? Are you going to keep running around saying, well, and all you got to do is hire yourself a good accountant and open up 3 LLCs and do this and do that and do that and do this? Or are you going to sit down and say enough is a fucking enough? If these politicians that are running aren't talking about changing it on the highest level, don't fucking talk to me. I'm not a fan of a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a fan of who's going to do right by the people. And only participate in politics when you're getting that message. And if you ain't getting that message, leave them the fuck alone. Let them crash and burn on their own, because we as a people, we gonna make it, especially us as black folks. I mean, let's get that part clear too. We as black people, we've always been on the bottom of this shit. We gonna be fine. We gonna find ways to make it. My concern is, as we find ways to make it, these other groups that aren't used to dealing with the shit we deal with, they gonna come around back to us like, hey, big head, it's black and brown. It's all minorities. We in this together. Are we gonna be dumb enough to fall for that shit again? Or are we gonna be smart enough to say, hey, look, this time you gotta hold your own nuts? Because whether I go back to Bacon's Rebellion of the 1680s, the American Revolution of the 1780s and 70s, the Populist Party of the 1890s, the Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s, another time that we fought and won. When the fight is over, are we going to go back to being relaxed and stupid and allowing other groups to harm us and rape us? Or are we going to this time be smart enough to say, you know what? We good. We'll do business with other groups. You can have hip hop at a cost. You got to pay for it. You want this black American swag that America's been using to sell to the rest of the world for over 100 years? You got to pay for it. And you got to pay a lot of money for it too. This is business. What are we going to do? Or are we going to go back to not loving ourselves and giving it away just for the approval of these other groups? You're right, Mickey. The revolution doesn't have to be violent. The revolution is not going to be violent. The revolution is a decision within our minds. What do we fight for? What do we stand for? What do we allow to fly? What do we check at the door? That's the revolution. That's the revolution. What are we going to do? See, the biggest fear this country has is people not participating in the process. If you go left, when they tell you to go right, they fine with that. If you go right, when they tell you to go left, that's cool because you're still participating. But they tell you go vote and you do nothing. You stay home. You just stop participating. You withdraw. Now you got a problem. You focus on your families. You focus on growing you. Instead of worried about the latest, who's the best NBA player of all time, you try to become the greatest father of all time. Instead of worrying about Beyonce's newest hairdo, you become the Beyonce of your industry, whatever it is that you do. That's what they don't want. Instead of you worried about what's happening with this rapper, that entertainer, you be what you're seeking in them. That's revolution. Sitting around talking about, well, I know things are bad, but shit, well, if you just open up an LLC and then change your status to Nubian Kushite and I ain't doing shit. You be the best person that you can be. Spiritually, mentally, psychically. You get in tune with yourself. You follow your program, not their program. Because you see, one thing that they're not talking about right now is, since the coronavirus, there's been a largest increase in black business in American history. That's the move. Since the coronavirus hit, Americans overall in general aren't returning to the corporate plantation. They're not returning to work these meager resourced fast food jobs. And the ones who are returning to fast food is because those fast food chains are now offering $18 an hour plus with full benefits. Right now, the American population is in revolt. The corporate media is not going to talk about it. You just got to know how to read the leaves for yourself. Do you need the news to tell you it's fall? Or do you just go outside and see the leaves all fall off the tree and know it's fall? I don't need the news to tell me it's wintertime when I could just go outside and feel the weather myself. The people are in revolt now. The people you saw what happened. Professor Black Truth talked about what was going on in Virginia with their election. 800,000 less Democrats showed up to vote for that election last week in Virginia than that showed up for Biden. 800,000 people who, I say Democrats and Republicans, 800,000 people that represented, no, 300,000 people that represented in the state of Virginia, my numbers may be wrong, that voted last year didn't come out to vote this year. You're starting to see people say, okay, you know what? Fuck what y'all doing. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to be the best person that I can be. That's what they don't want. That's how you fix this. You don't participate in what they have going on if it ain't speaking to you. You get together and do what's best for you. That's what they don't want. I appreciate that, Nino Brown. Tell him. We discussing the illness, not the symptoms. See, when people stand up and say no more, that's when the company, that's when the corporation, the country responds. That's how the country responds. But as long as we going around talking about, well, we just need to open up an LLC and do this and do that, and I don't care. I don't care what they doing over there. We just need to come together. We need to stop little Junie from shooting little Ray Ray. Well, if you want to stop little Junie from shooting little Ray Ray, then goddamn it, stand up. People always want to huff and puff when it comes to other citizens, when it comes to other black people, when it comes to what the rappers are doing or what the TV stars are doing. But when you see Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg raping you in front of your fucking face, well, now, I can't do nothing about no Jeff Bezos now. I guess I just go back to picking the cotton. Have some courage, people. Because the American citizens have done this before. And we can do it again. And as foundational black Americans, we're the oldest, longest standing American citizens. We've done this before. The only difference is when we were done fighting, when we were done with what we thought, when we thought the fight was over, we didn't understand that those other groups were just circling their wagons to then bring the fight just back to us. That's the only change we got to make. We can ally with other groups to fight against this government. But we have to always know that other groups, based on their actions, when the fight is over, they rally around each other to fuck with us. And that right there is what allows the corporations to go back to their game plan and create these 30, 40, 50, 70-year plans to take the wealth, the perceived wealth that they gave us back. The corporations get together and take the wealth back because they know that when dealing with these other groups, these other ethnic groups that think they're white, when the corporate fight is over, they're going to go back to spending all their time making sure black people ain't got nothing. And black people are going to go back to thinking that everybody's in love and this is one great big utopia, and wait 30 and allow these other people to steal from us 30, 40, 50 years before we say, hold on, wait a minute. We allow these other groups to steal from us for decades before we put our fucking foot down. That's how we fix it. That's the solution. Work with allies against a common enemy, and then understand that those perceived allies see us as an enemy. They're just using us to get more for themselves. Well, we can do the same thing. We can use them to get more from us. We can ally with other groups, and then when the perceived fight is over, when they want to come back to hip hop, tax they motherfucking ass the way they tax us, we can do that. Fine. You want some hip hop? Cool. It'll cost you. You want some of this black genius? It'll cost you. That's the next move we need to make. But I want to leave us by saying this, folks. We've done it before. We can do it again. As a matter of fact, we will do it again. Every time in American history, the corporate interest has gotten too deep, too unfair, too unstable, the people have tilted the balance of power back in our favor. We've done it before, time and time again. We'll do it again. I'm not worried about that. We'll do it again. Just this time, black people got to know that just because other groups, we fought alongside other groups for this one victory, don't mean that they're permanent friends. And that is based on their, what again? Actions. Capiche? I would take some calls, but I got a lot of shit to do today. My day just now getting started with all I have to get done today. So I thank y'all for listening. Remember this, people. There are no perfect messengers. Only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up the game. My name is Dwan B. Go to my new website, Hotepish.com. I have free shipping on all orders over $50 in just enough time for Black Friday and the holidays. 10% off all orders over $100. I'm running both sales concurrently. Free shipping on all orders over $50 through the holidays and 10% off all orders over $100. So buy the t-shirts for your friends, families, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, the cap. And not just t-shirts. Every t-shirt that I have now, I also got in hoodies. The Reparations Now hoodie will be up later on today. It's cold out there. Get yourself a hoodie. Salute to everybody for joining the chat room. Salute to everybody for listening. Much love to everybody. And know that we got this, people. We some dope motherfuckers, man. We got this shit. Cause we dope as hell. Ain't? Alright. My name is Dwan B. We out.